Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And I didn't think I would be back in Jubilee Blitz, but we did manage to improve my score on Boss Battle 1 by 15,000 points, which finally put me above the 400k mark that I wanted to be. So now we are officially 100% done because 400k was just for my own personal pride. I don't get anything new. I was still guaranteed 0.1% and, the top rewards. But I changed the team up a little bit based on, kind of what a JP YouTuber had built. I'll link his video down in the comment section just in case you want to take a look at the not quite as sweaty team, but still semblance of it. And it looks like this. So we've got, again, the Dark team, an AoE-focused stage. So Veldora, we've got Summer Millum underneath him, because if you have, I think, 75% or higher HP, you put an automatic crit resistance debuff on the enemy. Now, I think the JP YouTuber had Gabaru. His trait is the exact same thing, so, I mean, you can flip between them, it doesn't really matter. But then we have Lumi, who is going to be, our AoE DPS, alt buffing, AoE buffing. Veldora is here because we do have 1, 2, 3 characters on Exalted Champions, so he is guaranteed to change either his, Millum, or Rimuru's orbs. And it could be 2 blues, 2 oranges, 1 and 1. It doesn't matter, which makes him fairly versatile on this team. He's got the magic resistance down, and he has that massive 70% green gauge buff for 2 turns. So not as good as Isis as far as turns, but it's still a higher percentage total. And it has that 15% down, which, does help our damage output a little bit. Space Rimuru is skill fused, and he gives 40% attack and 30% alt resistance down, which that skill by itself is actually really good. It's a very good skill. And then Millum, orb changing, alt buffing, she's here, single target DPS, and then Dark Rimuru as our secondary AoE DPS with his guaranteed crits and everything. So we only have 2 orb changers, Millum and Veldora. And the JP team, they swapped Rimuru for Trya, for a 3rd orb changer. She's very good if you have access to her and you don't want to sweat, or Rimuru's not skill fused, you don't really care that much. Certainly, go ahead and swap him out for her, or, any other orb changer, really. And you'll probably do just fine. But let's go ahead and show you my run for this team now. Alright, so starting off, we're going to be using Veldora's green buff ability, which, also besides, like the obvious things, it does make our damage go higher just passively because it's a single target hit, and with orbs, we are always single target hitting that person that's generally debuffed. So we'll switch him out, and we'll switch Rimuru out, and we'll bring in the 3 dark units, and we'll go ahead and send it. And this gets us a lot of gauge, protector, skill points, and all of that. So then we got very lucky here, where the only things that we have to change are 2 oranges, which is perfect. So we'll put a stack of the AoE buff on, plus a stack of the alt buff, and then we can either take Lumi out for Veldora. Actually, we have to do that. So you come out because we need to change those 2 oranges, and Millum wouldn't do that, but Veldora will. So now we'll reset Veldora's both of his skills here, and then we'll bring Space Rimuru in because his trait is protection gauge on turn 3, which, it will make up for what we're not getting by leaving Lumi in for turn 3. So it's very nice and just helps us, get closer to cycling all the time for Veldora. Now, leading off, this was not a perfect run either. It was a very good run, but not a perfect run. And you'll find out why it wasn't a perfect run at the end. But here, we've gotten very lucky again. So we just need to use the Millum orb change, so we'll bring Veldora back in. His green buff now needs to be reapplied, or we could use his own orb change. It really doesn't matter. We need to change those 2 orbs. So we're going to use Veldora. Reapply the magic debuff, reapply the 70% buff, and then he comes out for Lumi, who now we can reset her and use another stack of the alt and the AoE, which now we're at 2 stacks of the AoE, so we only need 1 more. So we're also going to apply the crit buff here, just for additional damage, so Milim and Rimuru can hit a little bit harder. As if you can get off a lot of the buffs in between the final nuke turn, that will definitely help your score go up, and it'll make it easier to hit kind of that higher level range. And if you don't have Space Reamer, like, we don't use Space Reamer's buff at all until the very end. So that's why it's like, if you don't have him, like, don't worry too much about it. You can still get a very good score with this team. Assuming that, Rimuru is skill fused, Milim's skill fused, Lumi's skill fused. There's a lot of skill fusions here. Very good lucky hand, though, right here. And then we can either send it or, not send it, or just bring someone else in. But I think it's better off if we just do this. We'll reset Lumi. We'll use her final stack of the AoE plus the third stack of the alt buff, so she is almost done. And I think, yeah, so we're 20% there, 60% on the alt, so 1, 2, and we have enough points again for the crit buff. So again, using that is just helping our damage go up, 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 and making sure that we can single target alt the Romorus or whoever you decide to put it on, who has the magic debuff, means that we will just do more damage. So with 3 turns left, now you're building up to ensure that you can have your 3 primary alts, being Lumi, Dark Milim, Dark Rimuru. If that doesn't work, then things get a little hairy and you'll have to make some wonky changes along the way. So here, we've got a Rimuru alt, we've got a Lumi alt, that's great. They're our biggest damage dealing characters. We don't need to worry about it too much. But if we take Rimuru out, we're going to have 3 Lumi orbs. Or if we take Lumi out, we'll have 3 of Veldora or Rimuru. Mainly Veldora. Space Rimuru literally is only here for 1 turn. So we can do this. We can use both the orb changes, and that'll give us a full hand. And we can either send the Rimuru ult now and pray that we get it back, or we could try and hold it and send 5 greens. I believe I send it because I am confident that we will make it back again by next turn, alongside, the 1 orb that we're going to have here. Because we do have another one incoming, so we'll be pretty safe in that, because, yeah, we only need 1 orb for him, so we know it's guaranteed. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Doing good damage. And now, here's where things go a little bit awry. So we're over 1 million. Very, very nice. And now, I don't have enough to get a Milim ult, which is very, very unfortunate. We only have 1 orb for her, and we have 4 Rimurus, could be 5, if we send Veldora away. So this was not a perfect run. We could have had a Milim ult, last turn. That would have helped immensely. Unfortunate. So now I gotta think, what am I gonna do here? We need what do we need? So we need 55, so 110. We need 150 points to nuke. So we're gonna bring Space Rimuru in for Lumi, and then we can bring Lumi in for Milim. Because she doesn't have an ult, I need to make sure that our 2 AoE characters are up front so they can get the 40% attack buff from Space Rimuru. So we're gonna send these 5 Rimuru orbs, and that will give us enough points to nuke fully, while keeping that Veldora on hand for next turn when we actually need to use it. So if this was a perfect run, it could be natural greens, and we could send it and blah 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 blah, but it's not, and we could have had a Milim ult. But we do get kind of lucky here, where the only orb that's not green is Space Rimuru, who is going to go away. And we do have a character with an ult in the back. It's not Milim, but Veldora is an AoE character, and so he'll get a little bit out of this. So we can bring Milim in and use her ult buff. Her 25% attack for Dark Allies is overshadowed by Space Rimuru's 40, so it does nothing but the ult damage at this point. But now we can bring Veldora in, and now we have a full 6 hand and 3 AoE ults. And Veldora, even though he's not getting the attack buff, he'll still get the 80% ult damage from Lumi, the 70 from Dark Milim. He'll get guaranteed crits from Dark Rimuru, and he'll get 1 stack of the AoE buff here because we have enough points to use it, so why not? And we also have enough points to put the magic resistance down back on Romorus. So now our single orbs will hit harder and our ults will hit harder against Romorus. So we'll go ahead and send this. And Veldora does 93k a hit, which is okay. Rimuru does 278, and then Lumi does 295. Now, I did enchant Lumi's Dark Book a little bit, so it's got extra attack and 12% crit damage, so it is a little bit better than what your normal gear would have, but that puts us over 3.1 million damage, and my previous high score was 2.7, so we've definitely improved our score here to 135. So now, some people are going to ask, like, what would have happened if Milim had that ult instead? Well, if we look at this, this is a different run that I did after the fact, and this is Milim with the full, well, not full buff, but she's got her own attack buff, the full ult, the ult resistance down, and the magic buff, and she does 358 versus what Veldora did, which is 93, 89, 90. We did more against that middle spot because she had the magic resistance down, and that came out to a difference of 85,000 and change. That Milim did more, so it's like, we could have scored higher, yes, but, to be fair, this was not a terrible ult for Veldora. It's more than I expected him to do, because again, he's still getting the what is it, 150% ult damage, he's getting the guaranteed crits at least, he's getting the magic buff, he's participating in the ult resistance down, so he's only missing an attack buff, realistically, and 2 more stacks of the AoE. So yes, he could have done more. And maybe if you want to do this, you could maybe try and prioritize him getting the AoE buff instead of just, Lumi and Rimuru. That could also be a thing too. So there is also room for improvement with this team as well. But, as it stands, this is my highest score, and I don't really care anymore because I don't want to play this Jubilee. So let's bring it back. This is the team. It works very well. The JP player simply switched Space Rimuru for Traya. You could do that. You could switch her for, free-to-play Aaron or Sufia for dedicated orange convert. If you have her, you could bring Tsubasa in. Tsubasa's not actually a bad unit, because she'll give Pretty Sparkle allies up to 60% attack buff, depending on how many times you get ulted. And you do take a few ults here. Like 3, I think, so it's a 40% buff, which is higher than Milim's 25. And Milim is on Pretty Sparkle. So, that could work, and lowers defense. She's an option. Other green orb changers, Yom is blue. I don't really know about bringing him, because then you would just bring Isis, I guess. Isis herself, obviously, but, you're bringing Veldora, so his buff is technically, quote-unquote, better. But, just bring another orb changer. You could try and bring Space Yuki. He's got an AoE ult resistance down. He's not magic, but he's got it. And he can help other people do more damage. That's also something. Carrion can... No, don't bring Carrion. Never mind. Don't do that. There are some substitutions you can make here. But that's my highest scoring boss battle 1. Let me know what you guys think. But that's it for me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.